Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 187 of our trip around the United States. This morning, when we woke up, it was still pouring down around us. Ai-chan turned to look at me, and in her own dog way, she asked me, "What are we gonna do today, Mag?" And of course I responded, "The same thing we do every day, Ai-chan. Try to take over the county map." This morning, we're kicking things off here in Waco. We actually did manage to make it last night, even through the pouring rain. We have 250 miles to cover today. From Waco, we're gonna pop up north to Hillsboro, and then from Hillsboro, it's gonna be pretty much a steady route south all day long until we reach Giddings. Giddings is going to be our stopping point. Today we have a lot of interesting geocaches on the target list. Particularly, there's a series of gadgets coming up, as well as some highly favorited geocaches. Not to mention all the cool stuff we have in front of us here in Waco. I'm very excited about today, not only because it's dry and the forecast says we're done getting dumped down on, but because we have a lot of interesting sites and a lot of interesting geocaches ahead of us. So let's not waste any time. Let's get out there on the geocaching trail and do this. Come on. Our day begins with a fantastic walk, starting in Indian Spring Park along the Waco River Walk. The river walk includes about 7 miles of multi-use trail that loops along both banks of the Brazos River. It stretches all the way from Baylor University to Cameron Park, passing underneath the suspension bridge. It is accessible from various points throughout downtown Waco and captures the natural beauty of the Brazos River corridor. The main feature of this park is the Branding the Brazos sculpture. Completed in 2014, this includes 3 cowboys driving 25 longhorn cattle along the Chisholm Trail. And just like those cowboys would have done in the late 1800s, Ai-chan and I used the suspension bridge to cross to the other side of the river. Ai-chan, are you pondering what I'm pondering? Maybe, Mag, but I already marked the spot at the beginning of the bridge. I'll be able to smell our way back just fine. Halfway point across the suspension bridge, we couldn't resist stopping to enjoy the view out over the Brazos River. I can't even imagine the cowboys having to drive those cattle across the river before a bridge was installed in this area. What a feat. Our main goal in crossing over the river was to visit the Martin Luther King Jr. Park overlook. The virtual here at Ground Zero is the first and oldest geocache placed in Waco, albeit a virtual cache, but still worth going after. And for just the price of a very short walk up the stairs, you can enjoy still another view out over the river. Just around the corner from there, you can visit the awe-inspiring Doris Miller Memorial, a story you may already be familiar with from the movie Pearl Harbor. He was awarded the Navy Cross for his actions during the attack on December 7th of 1941. He assisted in moving his mortally wounded captain before racing to an unattended deck gun and firing at the attacking planes until finally forced to abandon ship. Back along the southern bank of the river and following the river walk north out of Indian Spring Park, you'll be able to traverse through a series of veterans memorials. While the initial memorials you'll come across are relatively standard, granite slabs bearing the names of wars and those who have lost their lives, it quickly changes when you reach the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The brick path winds its way through a series of 3 pavilions enshrouded by trees planted inside of circle enclosures. This walk has an unmistakably humbling feeling as you make your way from one station to the next. It creates an atmosphere where one is forced to think not only about the conflict that occurred, but the tragic loss of life that happened thereafter. Yet another amazing memorial to honor those who gave all for this fight. Following the river walk beyond the war memorials, your attention will quickly be captured by the Waco Sculpture Zoo, a collection of 28 animal-based artworks by leading artists from across the United States. The various animals featured here cover the final mile until you reach the Cameron Park Zoo. Each statue was completed in varying styles, forms, and materials to represent animals that can be found within the zoo or that are native to the area. In total, this ambitious project features works from 17 different artists, 2 of which are local sculptors from the Waco area. This big guy definitely has to be pondering what I'm pondering. Whose brilliant idea was it to put a series of animals leading along the river walk toward the zoo? The director of Creative Waco came up with this idea as a way to celebrate the Cameron Park Zoo's 25th anniversary in 2018. She says that the idea of putting the pieces by the Riverwalk from downtown to Pecan Bottoms was to create this quarter of delight, and the animals actually represent the animals that are in the zoo. As far as I'm concerned, the idea is working perfectly, as this series of statues completely grabbed my attention and encouraged me to continue walking along the river. And I'm not the only one who is interested to see the various animals along the way either. Having spent the better part of the morning walking along both sides of the Brazos River, it was finally time to get in the geomobile and start moving again. We made our way through downtown, enjoying a few of the murals before finally getting into the geocaching for the day. There were quite a few fun geocaches to track down as we started into our miles, starting with this fence post hide featuring a series of tiny log books. Even though it wasn't raining today, all of the trees still hold a lot of water from the pour down we had yesterday. So each time Aichan and I stepped into the woods, we had to be very careful not to disturb the foliage to avoid getting rained down on once again. As with any good geocaching day, we encountered a variety of container types and hide styles. We also visited quite a few local cemeteries. Although I'm not used to seeing a birdhouse in the middle of a cemetery, I was more than happy to be able to open this up and find a container just chock full of swag to check out. There are plenty of things inside of here for the little ones to be able to trade if you bring them along with you for the adventure. And really, you can never go wrong with an ammo can hide. As far as I'm concerned, these are the gold standard of geocaching and what the game runs on. This one had the logbook and the swag bagged separately to make everything easy for trading purposes. And although the decon containers are not as common as they used to be when I originally started, it's still always nice to find one of these guys hanging around waiting for you to sign the log. Alright, just one more find and then we're moving on. Pressing our way north out of Waco, we made our way into Hillsboro, the county seat of Hill County. This county is named in honor of George Washington Hill, who lived between 1814 and 1860. He moved to Texas in 1836 and served as a surgeon at Fort Houston until he was elected as the county medical censor. When Robertson County was formed, he was elected to represent it in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th Congresses. He eventually rose to become the Secretary of War and Secretary of Navy in Sam Houston's cabinet. And here in Hillsboro, we arrive at the part of the day I was most excited about, a walk through Wallace Park on the Hillsboro Nature Trail. This is an out and back trail, almost 2 miles long, which walks through a butterfly garden and a scenic forest setting. This nature trail had made it onto my radar because it features a series of gadget caches along its length. Unfortunately, things were not in the best of condition here.
Always sad to see that. It's possible that this was muggled, but it seems more likely that a geocacher just didn't want to go through the effort of figuring it out and broke through it instead. Shame, shame, shame.
Although we were more than a little disappointed to see the interior of the first gadget in this series smashed open, we decided not to let that dissuade us and continued further down the trail in pursuit of the next one. But as we approached through the woods on the way to the next ground zero, we saw the host laying down on the ground in pieces once again. It would appear that this trail of gadget caches has not survived the test of time after all.
It would definitely appear that this is another one of those times out on the geo trail when you got no one to hold them and no one to fold them. The first 2 geocaches that I did were damaged. Refreshing the log on the next one up in line, it's damaged as well and doesn't even look like it can be opened. The one after that's been archived. So clearly this geocaching trail of gadgets, which was going to be the highlight of my day, I thought, is in disrepair, and I'm gonna call it from here. I'm not gonna keep hiking on the trail and finding containers like this. I'd rather just keep covering miles and finding more awesome spots like we did in Waco this morning. That was pretty darn cool.
Back on the road, eating away at the miles as we push our way steadily south out of Hillsboro, we find our way into Groesbeck, the county seat of Limestone County with a population of about 3,600 people. Taking inspiration from another historical figure, this county is named for Abram Groesbeck, a railroad director of the Houston and Texas Central Railroad Company. We took a quick tour of the county courthouse building and, as we're known to do, enjoyed the veterans memorials along the way before heading down the road to treat ourselves to a sunset at the Falls on the Brazos Park.
And that's going to do it. The sun sets down. Another beautiful day spent here in Texas. When we woke up this morning, I actually thought Hillsboro was going to be the highlight of our day with that gadget series of caches. Little did I know, it would be right where we woke up in Waco. We had a fantastic time going through the Riverwalk, back and forth across the bridges, and seeing all the memorials and following the trail of zoo statues all the way until we reached the zoo. Once we left Waco, it was a relatively easy geocaching day. Everything that we went after was there. We got to find a lot of virtuals, a multi, several good geocaches, and since it wasn't raining down on us like it was yesterday, it was, by comparison, an amazing day. I really could not ask for more than great weather conditions like we had today. And we are continuing to chip away at our goal of taking over the U.S. county map day by day, one day at a time. Come on, John. We must return to the Geomobile and prepare for tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining us. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.